Welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm your host, Dr. David Hooper, and today is a really special episode. But before I get into that, how has your week been going? How is July treating you? Are you still progressing with your goals? I hope the answer is yes. But if not, don't worry, we are going to help you today. Today is an incredibly powerful episode, which I'm going to get into in a minute. But the reason today is so special is because we have hit 50 episodes, 50 episodes since we launched the Unstoppable Introvert Project podcast, and it is amazing to hit such a big milestone. I can't believe that we have, and I am just so grateful for all of the support you guys have been giving me. I appreciate all the messages and the comments and all that type of stuff. It really does mean the world to me. So I am so grateful, and I really hope that the podcast is helping you and is going to continue to help you as we continue to crush the rest of 2024 and we become our most incredible, unstoppable, introverted selves, because each of us has the ability to go and achieve incredible things, whatever that means to you, whether it's have an incredible family, find that beautiful relationship, create that unstoppable business, go and smash a marathon, whatever that means to you. It is very personal to you. So I am just so grateful to be given the opportunity to help you guys on a weekly basis. And I hope you're loving the podcast. Yeah, 50 episodes. I can't believe how have we got here? It seems like it was just yesterday when I was so nervous about hitting publish on that first episode. It was so much work, so much work to get the episodes out. And I've learned so much over the past 6 months. And I'm going to go through in another episode, maybe the top 10 things I would suggest to do, or the things I've learned from doing a podcast. And hopefully that'll help you guys in the future as well. But today's topic is focusing on changing your mind, because it is a sign of strength. To have the ability to change your mind and go in a different direction is, it's an incredible thing to be able to do. And a lot of introverts find that we don't necessarily want to change our mind for a few different reasons, such as what will people say? What will people think? Will people judge us? And we're also keen to finish everything that we start as well, no matter if it helps us or if it hinders us. So if we have a project, even if it's horrendous and it's a lot of work with minimal outputs, it's going to get finished. And I know you hear me on that one. So that is what today is all about. It's all about shifting gears and having the ability to show how strong your mind is by holding your hands up and saying, actually, I'm going to go in a different direction. There is so much integrity in doing that. It sounds counterintuitive though, doesn't it? Because, the art of changing your mind, and we often associate changing our minds with weakness or inconsistency. But what if I told you it is actually your superpower or someone's superpower? Because let's face it, changing your mind can be scary. We worry about what others might think, or worse. I get that. And it makes us look like we might not have our act together. We're just, headless chickens. But consider this. The world is constantly evolving. New information surfaces daily, new trends, new things to consider, new variables are thrown into your life. And what that means is, should our understanding of the world remain stagnant? Absolutely not. Because just because you started to do something when the world and your life was in a certain position doesn't mean that it's always going to stay that way. So we need to have that ability to be this lifelong learner, someone who welcomes new information and experiences with open arms. And those experiences might challenge you and your beliefs perhaps, but that's a good thing as well. And that in itself might make you change your mind. You might get some new information and say, oh, actually, I don't believe in X anymore. I now believe in Y. And that's absolutely fine. And it pushes you to refine your perspective and ultimately gain a deeper understanding of the world around you. So let me tell you about a couple of times I have changed my mind, a couple of times I haven't changed my mind, and a time that I am going to be changing my mind as well. So let's start with one of the major things that I didn't change my mind on and should have. So when I was at university, I did a degree, and then I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I did a master's degree, and then I still didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I did a PhD, which, by the way, is not a good reason to do any of those things. You should always have a clear reason for doing such large things and expensive things and time-consuming things. There should be a clear reason where you think this is a really good use of my time. And I didn't have that. And I just progressed through these things. And doing the masters was a good idea. You know, that really gave me an understanding of the world outside of sport. It introduced me to the idea of business and entrepreneurship and coaching. So as challenging as it was to go into a new subject at the time at 21 years old, bloody hell, 21 years old. That seems like yesterday, and I'm 33 now. Wow. So, you know, that was a good choice in hindsight. The choice that didn't make as much sense was to continue and do a PhD. So it was something that I kind of fell into. And I kind of fell into the thought of, oh, I'll be a lecturer. Because again, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And the answer to that is that I want to be an entrepreneur. And it took me a long time to get to that point. But as a 24-year-old man, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I started on this quest to get a PhD. And let me tell you something, it took a lot from me, not just money and not just time, but it took my mental health. I suffered depression during my PhD and had to pause it for 6 months to 12 months. Was it 6 or 12? I'm not sure. Let's say 12. It took friendships. So I fell out with people during that time who I no longer speak to, who I was quite close to. And it also took my health. So during that time, I got morbidly obese because I was so stressed and I ate myself into oblivion, as you all know. So it took a lot from me. When it comes to changing my mind, I had the opportunity when I paused my PhD. I paused it at the 2.5-year mark. So I was doing a 5-year course and I paused it at the halfway mark because my brain was about to snap. And I should have changed my mind and stopped doing my PhD, if I'm being completely, truly honest with you. And that is a decision that even now I look back on and think, you know, if I was in the same situation, would I have returned and finished my PhD? The answer would probably be no, because the route that I'm interested in going down, you don't really need a PhD. Yes, it looks cool sometimes to get called doctor. I barely even call myself doctor, to be honest. It's on my social media handles to kind of help people find me a little bit and to help me stand out from other David Hoopers. But in general, the title and my PhD haven't really contributed an awful lot to my success, to any success really. When I was doing my PhD, I was told it would open a lot of doors. I am still waiting for those doors to open. So, and it won't be the PhD that opens those doors. It's going to be something else. It's going to be me and my personality and my skill set and all those types of things. The title does not really open a door. It might get you in a room sometimes, but it's up to you to stay in that room. So the PhD in itself really wasn't worth the money and the time and my mental health and my physical health, if I'm being truly honest. Now that is a time that I didn't change my mind. And I'm always interested to think what would have happened. Are there some pluses to having a PhD? Of course. I found out a hell of a lot about myself. I learned that I can work extremely hard. I learned that I could cope with immense pressure. So, all of these things are really useful. Interestingly, none of the skills are academic. I really don't care about those skills. I care more about the employability skills or the transferable skills that you gain while you do these things. So in hindsight, I should have changed my mind and said, actually, I want to go down a different path. Maybe spent more time developing business ideas or learning about how to invest money in a different way, that type of thing. So that was one time where I didn't change my mind. A more recent time where I did change my mind, and this is a little bit different to the professional stuff that we talk about on this podcast, but I changed my mind about who I support as a football team. So this might sound pretty random to you, but I'm from the northeast of England, and there's two big football clubs in our area. There's Newcastle United and there's Sunderland. So my family's from Sunderland, and I played for Sunderland's academy. And I didn't support Sunderland, but I did support Liverpool because one of my idols, Steven Gerrard, played for that club. And, I loved everything about what he did. So I supported Liverpool from the age of about 14. And before that, I kind of just loved watching anyone. Man United, Newcastle United, Liverpool, Sunderland sometimes, Chelsea. I didn't really care. Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus, I'd watch anybody. But it wasn't until I was in my kind of teenage years where I thought, I really love Liverpool and I want to watch Liverpool and support Liverpool. Anyway, I got released from Sunderland and fell in love with Liverpool even more. I just threw myself into supporting that football club and didn't really think much of it. So I supported Liverpool for the best part of 15 years. But then my nephew was born and he started to get an interest in football. And I knew that he's going to support Newcastle United because that's our local team. And he's going to want their shirts and he's going to want their, to go and watch them, the matches and things like that. So I made the decision to change who I support and actually support my local club in Newcastle United. And it was not a hard decision to do. It sounds, sounds daft even just talking about it. But it meant a lot to me. I love football. I like watching football. So I decided to switch my allegiances. And I've still got a soft spot for Liverpool. Of course I do. But I wanted to change my mind on who I support and be able to share it with my wife and my wife's family and also all of the local people around here. I'm from Newcastle. I am in love with Newcastle and Northumberland. I've never moved away. I don't actually know why I didn't support Newcastle United initially at the time. I think it was because I grew up with a Sunderland supporting family, and then I obviously played for Sunderland as a junior player. So it wasn't an obvious choice. But now I love the club. I love going to St. James's Park. I love everything about what they're doing. I've supported Newcastle United for the best part of 4 or 5 years now. So this was a little while ago, and I just adore where I'm from even more. It's been such a great decision because it's enabled me to spend time with people in different ways. When we used to go to the pub and watch a match, I would just sit quietly because I wasn't supporting anybody. But now I can get really into it and watch the games and really love what we're doing. So that's a really great decision that I made. And again, yeah, it's just your football team. It's a bit of fun. And hopefully in the future I'll be able to buy Newcastle United if this podcast blows up. Who knows? It would have to blow up pretty big. But buying a box or getting a season ticket is something I'm really interested in doing in the future as well. So yeah, I am full on Newcastle United these days, and that is a decision that is been fabulous. And when my nephew's a little bit older, we'll take him to the games and buy him the shirts and all of that type of stuff as well. So yeah, I'm really, really excited with that decision. And before I get to the big decision that I've changed more recently, there's a few things to mention. So the first one is that some of the most successful people in any field demonstrate a remarkable willingness to adapt. They understand that clinging to outdated ideas or thoughts hinders progress. They're constantly evaluating their strategies. They're open to new approaches based on changing circumstances, because that leads them to a better business, a better decision, a better life, a better outcome, whatever it is. So think about it. Imagine being a business leader who refuses to adapt their marketing strategy to a rapidly evolving digital landscape. The results wouldn't be pretty, right? The key is to be strategically flexible, willing to shift gears when necessary. I was given a conference talk just yesterday where I talked about the impact of AI that's coming, not just on business, but in education and the whole world, really. And the analogy I really like is the pushback to social media. So back in the early 2000s, if you had said to business leaders, you're going to do hundreds of billions of pounds worth of transactions on social media every single day, you don't need to shop anymore. You're not going to sell to people face to face as much. They're just going to use an online portal or website to buy your stuff. And you're going to sell it through something called a social media platform. A lot of the businesses who you told that to would have said, no chance, you are crazy, you're out of your mind. But a couple of years later, Facebook exploded, Instagram exploded, TikTok's now exploded, and in the middle of that, LinkedIn was kind of born as well. And the majority of businesses are on LinkedIn, and all of these different social media platforms are now making businesses, like I say, hundreds of billions of pounds every single day, every single year. And and those business leaders, by the way, had to adapt. They had to go, actually, maybe we should do some stuff on social media. It seems to be sticking around. And that's exactly the same with AI as well, by the way. There's a lot of pushback right now where people think AI is a gimmick, they're not interested in it, but they are now starting to go, well, actually, maybe there's a place for AI. Maybe we need to learn about AI. Maybe we need to figure out how to make AI the golden thread in our business. So that is something for you to think about, because the liberating truth, if you like, is that there's no way to be absolutely certain you're making the right decision anyway. The future is inherently unpredictable. So what do? We embrace experimentation. We go and have a go at one thing. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we learn from it and we go in a different direction. By trying new things, exploring different options, we gain valuable experience. Even if an experiment doesn't pan out exactly as planned, it provides those valuable lessons that you can learn from, and it can inform those future decisions. It's all about learning from the process, not just the outcome. But what does this mean for you? How can you cultivate a mindset that embraces change? And here are some practical tips that I want you to think about. Firstly, be open to those new experiences. Step outside the comfort zone. Read books on those unfamiliar topics. Attend those workshops. Engage in conversations with people from different backgrounds. Whatever stepping outside of the comfort zone might mean for you, go and have a go at it. Be open to those new experiences. The second one is don't fear being wrong. We all make mistakes. Everybody does. And the key is to acknowledge them, learn from them, and then adjust your course accordingly. Number 3 is embrace experimentation. So don't be afraid to try new things. Start the business, start the podcast, start the relationship, And even if they seem a little bit daunting, growth often lies outside of our comfort zone. Just keep that at the back end of your mind. So, we're at the part of the podcast now where I have a little announcement to make. So I have changed my mind on the number of episodes we are aiming for when it comes to our podcast goals. So the initial target was to do 2 a week and get to 100 by the end of this year. But something that I have realized is that currently I'm churning out so many podcasts. 50 in 5 or 6 months is pretty crazy. Hitting 50's made me realize that I am not giving myself the opportunity to spend time on other things. And I think that the quality of these podcasts could get even better if I was just doing 1 a week. So I'm going to be going down to 1 a week, and they're going to be launched every Monday. And the new target for this year is to hit 75, which will be amazing. So that's the big decision. That's something I've been going back and forward with myself about for probably about the past 4 or 6 weeks. I think that it's became really challenging to do everything I need to get a good podcast out when it's certainly involving other people as well. So that includes all of the creation of the content. It involves reaching out to guests and booking them in and sending all of them the information and making sure that I'm giving them a great experience. And then it's the post-production of editing the podcast and turning it into clips and transcribing it and creating all the show notes and social media posts to publicize it and all these different things. And what I think is that if there's just 1 a week, not only can I provide a better service to you and the guests and everybody who's listening, but I can also help myself and bring more attention to this podcast, because there's no point doing a podcast if no one's listening. And at the moment, the downloads aren't where I want them to be. I think they could be a lot higher. So it's my goal to try and spend more time moving the needle, if you like, and bringing attention to all of the incredible things that introverts can do. Because if people start to hear this podcast and the incredible guests that I've had on, who I am so, so grateful for, by the way, I know that everybody who listens is going to take a hell of a lot away from it. So we need to make sure that this podcast is in front of more people. So that's my big decision. And I feel similar to how you guys feel. I like to go through these processes with you. And it did take a lot of reflecting. I've gone back and forward a couple of times, but I know that in the long run, this is going to be the right decision for me, because at the moment, my week is churning out podcasts, and that's not really the intention behind what I'm trying to do. I want to make huge impact with as many people as possible. So if I can do that by doing 1 podcast a week instead of 2, then that's what I'm going to do. And who knows? When we hit 75, it might be that it's time to go back up to 2 episodes a week. I would love to be in a position to do that. But for now, this is the right decision for me. And one of the questions I'm asking to myself right now is, why did it take 4 to 6 weeks to make this decision? 2 reasons. One, I thought announcing it on my 50th episode would be pretty cool. But secondly, and the more important one, is that I thought that it could be a sign of weakness to do that, to say that I had this big goal and decided to drop it down. I've also decided to focus on the quality rather than the quantity. So yeah, that's the goal, that's the aim, that's the change of mindset. And I know that you guys will completely understand that. And I really, really appreciate you guys as well. So remember, changing your mind isn't a sign of weakness at all. It's a sign of growth. It demonstrates intellectual curiosity and a willingness to learn. It allows you to adapt and thrive in a constantly evolving world. So the next time you find yourself considering a new perspective, embrace it. It just might open the doors you never knew existed. You know, just thinking back to all the amazing guests that I've had on, I honestly couldn't have dreamt of reaching episode 50, and I think I've had between 15 and 20 guests. It's quite remarkable, really, and I am so grateful for all of those people. The episodes have taken me to obviously the UK, but over to Australia. They've taken me to Denmark. They've taken me to Canada. They've taken me to America on multiple occasions. And it's just crazy how amazing that those experiences have. I'm growing, my network's growing, I'm getting more confident. And for a socially anxious introvert, it's quite a big deal. So thank you to everybody who's tuned in. Thank you to all the guests who have come on. If you haven't already, make sure you check out all of those guest episodes. We've got some incredible people who have been on, from people who are high performance coaches to fitness coaches to entrepreneurs who've built huge businesses, to mindset coaches, to lifestyle coaches, to people who've just done amazing things like become authors, and all these different things that every introvert needs to know how to do, because you are all absolutely incredible and I appreciate you all so much. So guys, really appreciate you tuning in to this episode. I can't believe that we've hit episode 50. It's absolutely incredible. Please remember to share the podcast and to tag people and to get this out to whoever needs it. The more help we can give people, the better. And remember to follow me at Dr. David Hooper on all of the big social media platforms. So appreciate all of the love and support that you guys give me. And remember to rate the podcast as well. It takes 2 seconds and it really helps the podcast grow as well. And for the 50th time, remember, your introversion is not a weakness, it is your greatest strength. Until next time, stay unstoppable.